All right, I'd like to first thank everyone for coming. This is our town council meeting for July the 11th. Invocation and pledge allegiance will be led by Council Member Bob Sigmund.
Stand for prayer, please. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the beauty of our surroundings. We thank you for this town. We thank you for the citizenry of this town. And Father, we pray your blessings upon each and every member. Father, lead us through this meeting, guide us, direct us, and give us a portion of your wisdom. We ask now, Father, you'll forgive us where we failed you. Lead, guide, and direct us in all that we do. For we ask in Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have before you tonight's agenda. Anyone had any changes? If not, we'll need a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion.
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Approval of the regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion we approve the regular minutes of the previous meeting.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Citizens' requests and comments.
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to introduce Angel Ingram. She comes to us from Gaston County Clerk's Office. Angel is currently a student at Gaston College, getting her degree in paralegal, and one day hopes to be a family law attorney. We're very excited to have Angel join our customer service team with Rose. I think everybody knows Rose. So everybody welcome her. We're very excited to have Angel, and you should see a lot of her lately.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Hold on
Angel.
a second, hold on a second. And I think her mother is in the back as well with her son. Appreciate it coming. But Angel's doing a great job for us.
She is. She is. We're very
Glad to
excited
have
to
you.
have her.
Angel, we can give you about 10 minutes is all we can afford to let you talk.
I just wanted to say thank everyone for the opportunity to work for the town of Maiden.
Glad to have you aboard.
Thank you.
You got 9 minutes and 30 seconds left.
I just wanted to say, we had a really good Edith Perkle Day Parade on the 4th. Probably as many people at that parade on the sides as I've seen in a while. And it was hot. It was really hot. But everybody that had something to do with that, we really appreciate it, and they did a really good job.
Mayor, just want to announce too that, we, police department, along in conjunction with the fire department, are doing our back to school, supply drive. One council members asked me about that. It goes until August the 15th. There's various locations people can drop stuff off at, police department, the Dollar General stores, the fire department, and this is on town hall. And then the other thing is, we're having a Kids and Cops Summer Day, which is July the 28th from 10 to 12:30. And I'll get particulars on that later, but the date is the July 28th from 10 to 12:30.
Hey, Samantha Saunders from the Maiden Business Association. Just wanted to remind you that we have an event coming up on September the 16th. It's going to be the Maiden Business Market, not the official name yet, but we meet Thursday and we're going to come up with an official name. It's going to have the representation of the businesses in Maiden, since we don't get to set up at vendors at the job after 5s. We're going to showcase our own businesses and our own products. We're also going to incorporate a food truck rally. We've got 8 trucks signed up already, and the gentleman's name is Jesus. He does a fantastic job publicizing it and gets it out on everybody's social media. So that'll be incorporated with it. I have not yet signed up for my special permits, my special events permit, because all of the details haven't been worked out. We're going to host a cornhole tournament, and I spoke with a gentleman yesterday, and he said that we could expect anywhere from like 40 teams to come. Never been to a cornhole tournament. I'm looking forward to it. We also want to do face painting and have a balloon artist there with a giant inflatable slide. So it'll be food truck, like a vendor market. It'll be face painting, giant inflatable slide, cornhole tournament, and what did I leave off? The other artist, balloons. Yep, balloons. That's September the 16th, and we do have a time determined. It's from 12 till 6. The other date I have is October the 21st. That's the fall movie night, and we're supposed to determine what movie we're going to see. It'll be a Halloween theme. We'll have a giant inflatable slide there. We'll have free popcorns for the public, some waters, and popcorn. That's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Samantha, is the Maiden Business Market, is it gonna be right out here?
Thank you for asking. We've reserved the parking area at the rec
Okay.
center.
Thank you, Sam. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
The only thing I'd like to ask Todd, any update on Brian today?
Yeah, he's texting and emailing. He told me he was frying to talk about it. He's hoping to be released sometime tomorrow or the next day, and then it's probably gonna be about 2 to 3 weeks before he returns back to work. But I think he's bored out of his mind, because I've gotten more emails from him in the last couple of days than I have since he's worked here. So he's working from home as much as possible, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Keaton may be gonna address this, but Fall Festival, I know first Saturday of October?
First Saturday in October, October 7th, 10 to 4.
7th, did you say 7th or 2nd? Okay.
10 to 4, we are taking vendors, original vendors from 2012, and then last year's vendors this month, and they'll open up to other vendors after that.
So for people that wasn't here when we started this in 2012, October is a busy month for festivals. So to entice vendors to come, we made a decision, if you was to come and risk it that Saturday, we would give you priority as long as you was a vendor. And I think they got the first 5 years for free. And that really helped get some people involved, because when you buy X number of hot dogs or whatever it is to sell, it's really hard if you can't sell them. So to entice people to come to the first one, that's what we do. And so we normally open it up June, July for those, and then we open it up to everybody else down the road. And we also limit, you can't have 10 people selling hot dogs or 10 people selling hot hamburgers. We spread it out, so that way everybody gets a little piece of the pie.
So I assume we're gonna have the jumpy things, the train ride, the usual.
Yeah, there's nothing on the top of my head that this year we're not having that we've had in the previous year. And to be clear on vendors, we have not turned away vendors in the past. We won't take, 5 people doing hot dogs, but sometimes somebody reach out, hey, what's already taken, and we figure out something else to sell.
Yeah.
And there's no rain date on that, right? On this
No,
event?
so we book out the rides 18 months in advance. And just so that, just to refresh everybody's memory, the rides, some of the rides, they have to be inspected by the county. They have to be set up for 24 hours before somebody can get on them. Last year, while it didn't rain on Saturday, we had 35-mile-an-hour winds on Friday. So nothing could be set up, nothing could be inspected, so therefore we couldn't have the event. And when we have that type of weather coming in, we want all hands on deck as far as public works, as far as dealing with power outages, water breaks. So it was a tough decision, but I think we ultimately made the right decision. So I believe we actually did have a power outage. It was a small one, but we did have one the next day.
Welcome to Anna.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Welcome to
okay,
Anna.
so I
Glad to
got-
have, I'm glad to still see Wanda sitting back there.
Yeah, I was gonna let everybody know that on July the 3rd, we swore Anna in as our new town clerk, and Wanda was sworn in as our Director of Human Resources. And then we also got a couple other people we want to congratulate. Jess has passed her certified CFO officer for North Carolina. So what, January 1st? Your certification, good deal.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And then Mr. Keaton has went through this class, and he is our first ever licensed playground inspector.
That test was harder than it sounds like.
It sounds simple, but I know it's
More
not.
time on it than I would have thought.
Now, the class you took, you had people from all over the country, didn't you? California, everywhere else, come in just for that class.
So exactly what does that mean? That you inspect our equipment, you inspect others' equipment?
So basically, it is a certified playground safety inspector. It is in my terms, it is a way to look at your playgrounds to try to minimize your
Yes.
risk. That is the bulk of the class. It's something that we have done here, since I started. It's something we'll continue to do, but it is kind of the backing up, the basis of that practice.
Okay.
So I think the statute of limitations is up on this story, so I'll tell it. Everybody remembers the really, really tall metal slide that we had in the park. So
Hot,
yeah.
hot.
So I got here and I asked Jody. Jody comes to me and goes, "Listen, we haven't had anybody come out and look at this stuff in years. We really need to get somebody to come out here for insurance purposes because I'm pretty sure some of this stuff needs to go." The lady pulls up in the car, calls Jody on the phone. She goes, "I'm not getting out. I'm coming back in a month. That thing's got to go." And we find out later that it should have been gone like 10 years earlier. So Keaton keeps us in compliance, keeps us so that we don't have any insurance issues, liability issues with our vendors. So I appreciate it.
Good job, all four of you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? If not, we're gonna move right along. Next, we got the consent agenda item, which consists of your finance officer's report for the month of June.
Anybody have any questions about it? And I will move that we accept it as presented.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. New business, award the cemetery contract.
In your package, you have a memo from Brian. They put out for bid for the cemetery. Him and Micah, the street supervisor, interviewed the lowest three bidders. Did on-site interviews with them as well as asked them about their staffing and their equipment. After it's all said and done, Brian is recommending grounds, crew, mowing, and landscaping. He was one of I think he might have been actually the lowest bidder. But he also had, it might be a she, I don't know. They also have, according to Brian, the largest, staff and the best, and the more equipment. And they also are very flexible as far as, sometimes we need it mowed twice a month, sometimes we need it mowed 3 times a month, sometimes it needs to be mowed once a week. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I don't know any of the ones that bid. I probably do, I just don't recognize the names, other than maybe, 2 of them that I know personally, but they wasn't the lowest bidders. They also, now keep in mind, this is per mow, this isn't per month. So every time they mow it, that's what the bid is. So right now it's $700, which the bids range from $700 to $1,700. So there's quite a bit of gap there.
What are we paying today with the current?
I want to say we pay $1,000 now,
That's what I thought.
I think. But again, it may end up being as much money as we spend because they may mow it more often.
Right. And I looked them up, they're in, is it Rutherford College?
Yes.
Is that gonna be a problem?
That, from what I
Do
gather.
they have other business here, I
Yeah,
guess is what I'm asking.
and Brian's not here obviously, but from what I mean, he worried about this more than anything he's worried about since he's been here, really. I mean, he was in my office quite often, kind of nervous about it. But, he went out and actually surveyed their work, all 3 of the low bidders. He went and looked what some of the jobs that they listed, looked and talked, and he actually talked to some of all the customers. So, he spent a lot of time on this, and this is the ones that he's recommended. Now.
A curiosity question. I noticed in that contract, there's no spraying of Roundup or weed killer or stuff like that. Any particular, what's the reasoning behind that? Just for,
I don't know the answer to that, Ronnie. I really don't. I know they spray. I know they weed.
Yeah.
Cameron might be able to answer that more than I do, because he did it for so many years.
The reason being that they didn't want people like to spray around the tombstones because of deterioration of the stone, around the stone, the soil around the stone. So
But I do know that they do spray.
the parking lots and
The
the fence
parking lot
line.
and the fence line, yes.
that's interesting. I went over and cleaned my mom and dad's place up. I sprayed around the tombstone.
So, but the recommendation is to go with, grounds crew mowing and landscaping.
Council wishes to do so, we'll need a motion.
I make a motion, we accept the bid for grounds crew maintenance or yard care, to do the cemetery work.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. Town policies.
As council, and I'm sure, I send out a lot of information, so forgive me if, sometimes I forget that, you do get a lot of information at one time sometimes. But, part of this last budget, we was awarded a, water line, from the county to, loop Buffalo Shoals, all the way over to Davis Road. And part of that is, from the county's, and I'm gonna mess it up, it's ARPA money, and I can't, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, can't remember exactly what it stood for, part of their money. Since we're using federal money, we have very specific policies that we have to follow. We have most of these policies, but we wanted to make sure the wording was exactly in line with the counties. That way, we can bid it out and the county can pay for it. It's a smooth transition because we have the same policies. So before you deny, or I want to say 4 or 5 policies that have been altered to say Maiden, but they are in line with the requirements under ARPA and the Catawba County Financing Department.
So did we already have something in place and this is just more formal to
So
replace that?
Yeah, so the best way I can explain it is, we might have been driving a Ford and they was driving a Chevrolet. It both did the job,
Right.
but it was 2 different models. this right here makes it seamless.
Yep.
So that, we can interact, our finance department can both intermingle. So we can do the work and the county can pay for it, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping
Did I
that's
say
what
that
you
correctly,
knew.
Jess?
Yeah, and, I'll just add a little bit to that. If you remember with our own ARPA money, I believe it was our code of ethics, maybe policy, I don't remember exactly which one. It needed to meet specific guidelines for the federal money, so we brought a policy before you guys for approval for our own ARPA funds. So, it's just, I guess, a technicality for exactly what Todd said, our department to commingle with the county's department.
It was more of a, we wanna make sure there's no issues type deal. And we're not the only city that's done this. Every city in Catawba County that's got money from the county has passed these exact same policies.
This is sort of off, spin off from that. Our code of ethics policy, does each employee sign that annually? Okay.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't know. I know I've signed one, but I don't know when the last time I signed it was.
Okay. Okay, you want a motion for this?
What,
Yeah.
just a second, one question. Now,
Okay.
where'd you say that loop's gonna be?
From Buffalo Shoals and
Up
East
there where the
Maiden.
cafe is, I think,
Yes.
all the way to Davis Road.
Oh, just, so I had my mind was gonna loop down Davis Road and come back on the water plant.
And I wish that Brian was here. The little road off to the left, if you turn on Buffalo Shoals off of East Maiden Road going towards 16, there's a road that cuts off to the left that's got a loop that's got homes in there. It will also run in there because they're having well issues as well.
Greystone, I think, is the name of the street.
Okay.
Great work.
Great
Great
work.
work.
I know the fire department's been out there a couple times. Also, once this is all said and done, the pressure, and I'm not an engineer, but according to the engineers, once it's all said and done, the pressure, will be high enough that we can take that water tower off of East Main Road, out of service. Now, we'll still have to maintain the property because we'll have to have a tie connection and a pump station. But, that will save the town probably $25,000 to $30,000 of today's money each year because of maintenance on the water tower.
And that's the last one we have, right? The water tower, or is there another one still?
We have three.
One at Capricorn.
So-
Okay.
So we have three water towers, and I don't think we'll ever get rid of the other two.
Okay.
This one was built not for storage, but for pressure.
It's target practice.
That's what I was thinking.
So,
Gonna be some
Give everybody ideas.
So, to give you a real quick and dirty on how the water tower works, you take a water line, you pump it up, and then it's gravity fed back down. A lot of water towers are used nowadays for storage, which this one, which our two in town are used for storage mainly. But they can also be used to pump the pressure up. The problem is when you connect a high pressure line to this area, you don't need that anymore, and we don't need the storage out there because we don't have a big industrial customer on that leg of our system. So, it'll help us out on a couple of different angles.
You may proceed.
I make a motion that we accept the policies, the town policies related to, what was exactly did it say?
ARPA.
Yes, to the ARPA funds.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. Purchase of West Main Street properties.
So a couple weeks ago, Miss Moose had contacted the town. Her husband has recently passed away. We have had a gentleman's or a lady's agreement with that family for years. We maintain the back half of their property, that they can't really mow and take care of, and in exchange, we can park some vehicles on it. She's getting older in age. She wanted to get it, more formal, so that if something was to happen, or if she needed to sell the property or whatever, that the town would have access to the land. She also, it's a good time to sell land right now. So after talking to her, I talked to the neighbor who's kind of in the same boat, and they, was agreeable too. We negotiated a price, one of them's $14,290, and then the other one, sorry, I don't have my notes right here in front of me, I should have, is $17,835. I wanna say after it's all said and done, and Wesley may be able to tell me off the top of his head, I wanna say after it's all said and done, we're gonna get a little bit over half an acre downtown property, in Maiden that connects to our public works department that we already using. I think it's a no-brainer myself. We also agreed, once it's all said and done, I gave them kind of a, I don't think it's in the contract, but a gentleman's agreement that we would put up some type of fencing down the road and some screening. I don't think they necessarily care, but whoever they sell the house to in the future may. Cause if you look at the back door right now, you see in dump trucks and pickup trucks and heavy equipment, so, and so that's what it boils down to. And Wesley can answer any of the other questions that you have, cause he typed this up.
So the pricing on it, was it like appraised, or how did we come up?
So
with
basically
the-
how we came up with it was, we took the, new value, and then we used that value, and then we gave them a little bit for rent over the years.
Right, okay, just curious.
I mean, they wasn't, I really didn't wanna spend $1,300 to $1,500 to have it appraised when we're not talking like serious money.
Right, I was just curious
Yeah.
where it came from.
And, it was kind of, worked out between us and the landowners, so.
Sure.
We're gonna leave it, excuse me, we're gonna leave that deeded as two different lots, or?
Well, that's something we're gonna talk about next.
Next.
Oh, okay.
And I know it's kind of confusing because it's right there together and it's in the same package. But that brought up another issue, once I got in there looking at it. So for like Public Works, there's 9 different lots that make up Public Works. Over the years, we have bought and added to. The fire station, there's 5 different lots that makes up the fire station. What we would like to do is, once we get it all said and done and we get this property in our name, is to recombination all the town properties. We got 4 different ones that's got multiple lots. Maiden Cemetery, the fire station, the Public Works building, and then the future cemetery all have multiple lots. So when you look at it, if you look at a map, in your package, you look at the fire department, it's the fire department, but there's lines. It will be one continuous lot going
You
forward.
talking about the current fire department?
Mhm.
It's enough property there, there's 5 lots?
5 lots, yes.
What you used to see, churches, all these, time comes and people realize there's a little bit of encroachment or need a little extra space for an alleyway, and it just gets kind of cobbled together over time.
This is just clean it up. So the first motion would be, C, would be to buy the 2 properties. And then if you so move, we would move to 8D, we would ask council, it really don't need a motion, but, because we haven't got a price on it yet, we will have to do some survey work and some legal work to get it all done, but, it really needs to happen. It's a mess.
So I'll make a motion that we purchase the 2 properties on West Main Street.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. Now, as far as the recombination of the town properties, you just need a yea or a nay.
Yeah, we don't need a motion, but does anybody have any problem with the staff moving forward with it?
No,
I think that's smart.
I got a question, the future cemetery, which one is that? on
So
here?
if you're going out of town
Across
past the
from the house,
cemetery,
Is it on the right?
it's on the right.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant by that, but I wanted to make sure. Okay.
So nobody has a problem with us putting a package together. It probably will require a small budget amendment down the road, because we didn't really plan to survey all this property, but I think it needs to be done, and I think it's time it's been past time to do it. It's just one of those things, quite honestly, it never made its way to the forefront until we got to looking at these properties. So if y'all don't have a problem with that, we'll move forward with that.
Okay, next, we have the town manager contract. I think Wesley's done a lot of work on that.
Would you like me to, might be better if I explain it. This has been the subject of discussion between the town manager and, the town council, and tentatively, it's kind of understood this is what the parties are willing to do. Todd has had a contract, and one time previously it was extended. He's asked this be extended again, and the town council has at least tentatively, subject to this vote, agreed. And there'd be 3 changes to the existing contract. One is that the contract would be good now through February 12th, 2028, or the termination by either side. The second change is an increase in salary to $149,149.60. And then the final amendment would be that the vehicle allowance is amended from $500 to $665.60. Other than that, the contract that was in effect would stay in effect.
Now, that vehicle allowance, I think it started out at 500 when we first done it, but as the years went by, it rose because of the raises.
That may have been what happened in practice. I didn't see any changes to the contract from that, so.
So how it was told to me was it would just go up the same percentage as any increase to account for inflation. And then one year, we actually did CPI because it was lower. Instead of doing inflation, we did, instead of doing the pay increase, we did what the CPI was for it. So right now, it's like $616 a month. And it's based off of what I drive.
So then is the severance package still the same?
Severance package, everything else would be the same. Only changes are the salary, an extension of the contract, and the vehicle allowance.
So I have a question on let's get my calculator out. If I read it correctly, the original agreement said the vehicle allowance would go up the same percentage as the raise. Is that correct? Because I don't know why the merit would be included. It should be the base, right? Or no?
We talking about the vehicle allowance?
Yeah.
I'll need to look that up. Let me connect to my copies of the original contract, so I don't have an answer right now, but I'll.
It just seems odd to me that it would go up based on the full amount, the merit amount. It should go up the base amount.
I can make it fairly simple. Nobody, I don't think we had that discussion as part of the town council. I think somebody informed me what that rate would be, and I put it in there. So I'm happy to change it to whatever y'all want it to be.
Well, I just read the full contract when this came out because I wanted to understand where we were,
Sure.
to know what this meant. So that seemed kind of odd to me. I mean, maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, but I would think that the merit wouldn't go in. It would be like the cost, the 4%, which is like the cost of living, if you will, versus the merit on top of it. That don't seem.
I think when it was first done, some conversation was had whether to do something like that or just use the CIP amount. I want to say, looking historically at the CIP, it's much higher than what a raise would be. So they went with the lower of the two. So I think at the time, and times have changed, but I want to say transportation was going up about 8 to 9% a year at that time. And so they went with the lower of the two, which would have been actual rate increase. But now, if you want to change it to CIP, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Well, I'm trying, like I said, I just read
Yeah.
recently, so a lot of this is new. I know we talked about it as a group previously, but when you have the document in your hand versus a generalized conversation, you know, it's a little different, and so that's why I'm just wanting some clarification, on some things. So back to Cameron's question on the severance, has it been 12 months the entire time?
No.
When did that change?
So when I first was hired, you know, you gotta kind of prove yourself. I was hired under a 3-month severance. After 3 years, they bumped it to 6 months. And then, when we renegotiated the last time, it was bumped to 1 month per year of service. And then I recommended it be capped at 12 months. Because if I work more than 12 years, it's important to note, I think it's important to note, they had never had a manager, work really as long as I had. So the cap on the severance hadn't really never came into play. So, I was the one that recommended capping it at 12 months, which is pretty standard in the industry. There's a lot of new managers right now getting 12 months. And it's also important to know it's severance only if I'm fired for
If we just decide you
Yes,
need to go, yeah, I get
yeah.
it.
So, and unlike, you know, most positions, if I get fired or leave, I gotta pick up my whole family and move.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get all that, and it's, you know, it's a different industry. As you said, I'm used to seeing 6 months,
Yes.
you know, as a max, in various industries. So that was the reason that I was just asking, had it always been that way, or not? And then, again, the reason we're extending it is because it went out in 26 and we're extending it 2 years, is that correct?
This will be the second extension that was done. It was requested by Ms. Todd and discussed by the town council. My understanding is historically the council, with this contract and any others, has kind of periodically, even though it may be a 5-year contract, they typically amended it from time to time to cover the increase in salary, because typically these contracts don't have any automatic increase in there, although they could. So I think it started with that, and typically there's no rules. You have to decide what you want to do. Along with that, they typically tend to be extended another couple of years too at the same time it's done. So don't have to do that, but that's how these normally come about.
Because of the salary change, is that what you're saying?
Usually they're, at least in my experience, for what it's
Yeah.
worth, they're usually revisited every couple of years, even though it may be a contract for longer than a couple of years. And if there's a desire on the part of the council or a board, they say, okay, we're gonna do an increase, and while we're at it, we're gonna bump the termination date out a couple of years.
I'm just trying to understand it because, again, industry, I mean, you don't just go in mid-contract and bump and change. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, I mean, I understand we had a salary increase as we did raises this year, so, but I don't recall doing this last year when we had some significant salary increases. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around the timing, and should this be done every year and looked at, or why right now? Does my question make sense?
That's completely a decision for the
Okay.
council.
Okay. Sorry, this is the first time we've had his contract, so I'm trying to wrap my head around how this should work or how it has worked.
So we usually looked at it kind of midstream on the 2 to 3 year.
To keep it at a
Whenever we're done
5.
yeah,
To keep it at a 5
That's
year.
what
So-
we
Okay, that's what I was going
So when a
for.
couple years expire, then
Then
you
come back a
revisit
couple
it and
more
say,
years.
do we need to look at that?
Keep it at a 5.
Keep it close to a 5.
Because historically, this council. So again, I've been here so long that we have to, this is new, I guess is what I'm saying, because most of them don't make it the length of they leave or whatever, before the contract's up. I will say that, I don't want my contract to ever be a subject of tension. I will also say that, since when I first came, I was really, council had been going through, I don't know if it's council's fault. However it worked out, there've been several managers over a short period of time.
I lived through that, I remember.
So, council was not agreeable to do an evergreen contract, which basically has no termination date. This is the standard. We will give you a pay raise every year if we deem so, and it does not have a term on it. Council wanted a term, and I said, that's fine. And I told Max I think was the only one, I said, I'm perfectly fine with that. However, for the safety of my kids and the protection of my family, I'm never gonna wait until the last minute to renegotiate.
And I'm okay with that.
And I think that's where the every few years have came from.
Understood. I just wanted the history and the hows and the whys and the 5-year, what was, because again, we haven't done this,
Yes.
since I've been elected, so. And I think a lot of people, people watch the replays, probably want to understand it too. So I think it's good that we talk about why we're doing this stuff instead of just stroking the pen and doing it.
And probably if we make the decision to bump this up to 5, we probably want to be sure and make a mental note to review that again, in about at least 2 more years, because Todd will be getting close to where he could retire.
I got 8 years.
Okay, so see what I'm saying? So we need to
Well, we have
think about that to make a plan.
we have a phenomenal HR director now that I'm sure will mark her calendar.
I mean, I'm just bringing that out, so he would choose to contract longer, I
Well,
don't know, but,
I got kids, I got young kids. I don't see me not working after 8 years.
yeah.
So, I mean,
But it would be smart on council's part to keep that in mind, that you would be eligible for retirement if you chose to do so.
yes.
And to revisit that contract in a couple years, to think about that. Just putting that out there.
And I don't want this to come off as being an ego statement, and I'm trying to think how I can say this without come off as being, I think me, myself, and my family, as well as the town, mutually have benefited from this partnership over the last 15 years.
Yeah, and I
In
don't
fact, it's
come
kind of
across-
funny, last Friday was my anniversary, 15 years on the job. It was kind of, so,
Well, and I didn't mean to come across in any kind of negative way.
no,
It's just, I wanna understand
and you should.
while it's on here, and since it's fresh to Wesley, since he just drafted it and read everything, I think it's important on things like this, that we talk about it, so that people understand, cause I get asked things a lot of times, and I'm like, that's a great question. I don't know, but
And if council has any heartache on anything, just, I'd be more than glad to get you copies of other managers' contracts. I will say, there's some things in here that are at the higher level of some, and then there's some that's at the lower level of some. The term being one up, you know what I mean? Most of them, not most, a vast majority don't have a term. They call it evergreen. I don't necessarily need that or want that. I think it's good for council to revisit it every couple of years and keep it fresh in their mind. So whatever council wants to do, we can talk about it.
One thing I might want to mention, just for the public's benefit, the law in our state to prevent really nepotism is that this council, nor any other board of a local government can kind of bind future councils by putting in a contract that says a manager can't be terminated. Just like they can't bind themselves to keep me hired. They can terminate me at any time. So that's kind of the fine line the council has to walk, is they can contract to give Todd certain assurances. They can't promise to not terminate him, but they can put in provisions for severance if they so desire. But just for the public's benefit, I'll say that.
Yes.
Well, the only reason I asked about the package, the severance package, is because, you know, we'll pay that for a year, and then we have to hire another, manager. So then that way we'll be paying two salaries basically, right?
I doubt you could find one in that amount of time. You'd be lucky to find one, and you'd be lucky to get one within 6
Yeah.
months. But it would take a full year to find you a manager.
The average turnaround right now, I was talking to Anthony Starr, who does 99% of the searches in our area, and he told me that an average turnaround for a manager to get a job is around 8 to 10 months right now, and to replace one is about the same time frame.
And to your point, just a reminder, this severance would be when there's a termination not for cause. So,
Right.
you know, in that circumstance, you're right, there'd be a payment to whatever interim y'all using or whoever you hire, and then there'd be a payment of the severance. If it's termination for cause or, you know, it's quitting, there's no severance package.
So that's just saying, like, if
Yeah,
we
if
decided
we
next
decided,
week,
right,
by,
right.
you know, we're not gonna agree to anything that we
Mhm.
had.
And I understand,
And
and
that's
that's,
protection.
Yeah.
that's protection and it's fair. The 12-month was my thing on that, was that just, in my industry, that's a very long time. You know, we're more in the 6-month realm if you have some kind of severance, agreement, but
I will say there's a city I'm not gonna say the name of it on TV, but there's a city very, very close to us that just signed a manager to a contract of 5 years, and as I understand it, if they get fired anytime within that 5 years, they get paid the entire length of the contract.
okay then.
And that's public record, I mean.
I know, okay, we'll leave it at that.
You know, this is kind of off the subject of it, but industry I also was associated with, had key man insurance. And that's something this council may want to look at in the future, and consider Todd as a key man. And if something would happen to him, like that, we would be covered money-wise to hire somebody immediately to get in there. But it's something that needs to be considered down the road. But, you know, that is a key thing, key man insurance.
I
That's
bet our
also-
new, director of HR will be on that. It's like your meeting, Wanda.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the town manager's contract as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous.
Thank y'all.
Old business, Parks and Recreation bid for AC in the gym.
So, good evening, council. Before you tonight, you have the bids for installing a HVAC system in the gymnasium. We have received 2 bids, but we did only receive 1 bid that did meet the requirements of the request for bid, which was to install the HVAC system. With that being said, I recommend awarding the bid to mechanical contractors. I'll take any questions that you have.
I'll also want to throw in there that we've had, for I know 8 years, we have tried to find a company that's willing to come out and do this. This company is the only one that he's recommended, the only one that's came out and brought engineers with them. They will have to go through a load-bearing wall, which will have to be engineered. So that's another reason Keaton is recommending this company. They're the only ones that brought engineers with them to look at the job. We've had probably no less than 8 companies out there, all refused to bid on it.
So the other bid They were just gonna provide the equipment, they wouldn't do
It
install?
was basically ductwork and the
Oh.
units.
Okay,
There was no electrical, there was a lot, I may be missing some stuff, but there was no structural drawings, there was a lot of stuff missing.
yeah.
And it was
from that
also
bid.
smaller units too.
So that's where the big difference comes in the bids, I'd say.
I'm just
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
worried about going through that load-bearing wall, not knowing what engineers they're gonna use, what they're gonna charge, what electrical engineers they're gonna use, what they're gonna charge, what structural engineer they're gonna use, what they're gonna charge. And then it doesn't include for concrete work either for the pads to actually set on. So let me give a little bit of background. Hickory Sheet Metal does a lot of our maintenance work, and I think they kind of felt obligated to give us something.
Okay.
I haven't personally talked to them, but I think that's where that's coming from, because historically, they wouldn't give us a bid. They do great work for us, they do great work, they've come out here in emergency situations and got us running. In fact, that's how they got all our maintenance work. We had an AC unit down in Town Hall that was down for about 3.5, 4 weeks, and we couldn't get nobody to fix it. Somebody gave us their name, they came out, they had the exact same unit on another job they was able to borrow parts from to get us up and running, and that's how they got our maintenance work. So, but in this case, I just don't think they met the criteria for what we was asking for bid. I will also say that both bids came in less than what we budgeted for the project.
How many did we send out?
Keaton will have to answer
Sent
that,
to
but
3 different companies, it was posted. We had some interest from some others, but the 2 bids were the only ones that were received.
Okay.
So I guess the third one looked at it and said,
Did not.
no.
And I have met with several, local, businesses, and they've come out, yeah, we'd love to look at it, shake my hand, look at it, oh, this is it. I'll let you know.
See?
And then we haven't received anything.
I really think going through that load-bearing wall deters a lot of people.
And this this one, the mechanical contractors, they're gonna provide the engineers for that.
They're gonna do everything.
So it's all in.
It's total package.
Turnkey, we don't touch
Yeah.
anything. Now, we will have to shut the gym down for a couple weeks whenever they get started.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I was asking about the number of bids, because the last meeting, I was assured we got 3. So I wanted to make sure we at least sent it to the 3, because
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a stickler on the spending.
Yeah.
And I wanna make sure that we're getting adequate number of bids.
So, and in situations like this, I just don't think there's enough companies out there that's prepared to do the.
No, I understand the situation, but
Johnny
I
on the
wanted to
spot.
say why I was questioning it.
Yes.
Contractor does a lot of work for us to do. They do a lot of these load bearing walls for us, and these guys are refusing to use. So I just,
Mechanical contractors?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
They do a lot of work for us. They-
That's actually where we got it from. We got
Not
a recommended,
I'm just telling you, they do good work.
project manager from Duke Energy, Danny, was the one that recommended us contact them, because that's the ones that they use. Because we couldn't get nobody that would come out and want to go through that low bearing wall.
Understood.
And I will say this is something that we've been, people in the community
Been
have
on
asked
air
us.
conditioning there for 20 years.
Yes, yeah. So, now, I will say this, and I want everybody to listen, even when we do this, it's not gonna be freezing in there. We're hoping to get it down in the below 74, 73 range, we're hoping. Yes, comfortable. It's not gonna be cold, it's gonna be comfortable.
Well, most gyms aren't cold, honestly.
Not anymore, no.
The only thing I would advise is if y'all make this motion, add to the motion that Mechanical Contractors LLC has been determined to be the lowest responsible bidder. Because that's the criteria y'all have to beat. Doesn't have to be the lowest bidder, the lowest responsible bidder. And Keaton has stated that that's the case here.
I second that motion, Wesley.
Well, Well, I'll make that motion if Ronnie will second it.
All right, got a motion in a second?
Just to clarify, the motion is the lowest responsible bidder.
Yes.
Correct, boss?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion's carried unanimous.
Should be getting a little bit tongue-tied on all that, so.
It's hard to say that.
What you have before you, the resolution 01-2024, resolution approving the Village of Maiden road closure.
Good evening, everyone. So we received a petition for a road closure for a road located east of the intersection of J.W. Abernathy and Ballard Street.
And it's important to know that this is a paper road, not an actual road.
Yes.
It's just a road on paper that needs to be closed down. It actually, if you know where Carolina Non-Woven is, it is the little section right there before their loading dock.
That's right, there are cases where people create easements, roads, rights of way on a map. It's never open, and there's a couple of ways it can be closed. And when it's not been used, and one of those is to petition the town or city to close it, and that's what they're doing.
This is kind of the easiest way, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Just for the developers asking for that, or is that?
I don't know, is it the developer or is it Carolina Non-Woven? I know we've talked to both of them.
It's the developers
Okay.
they're looking for.
And it is subject, the town's gonna reserve certain easements underneath that, right-of-way that's given up, because there's some potential, I think Blake said drainage easements, maybe some water easements we wanna keep underneath it. So the town will still have all the right to run things underneath it or to keep what's underneath it already.
So I'll move that we accept resolution 01-2024, a resolution approving the Villages of Maiden road closure.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion's carried unanimous. Resolution 2-2024, authorizing the filling of an application for approval of finance agreement for the fire department.
Before you is a resolution for the town to complete the application and request proposals for installment financing on the fire department, as well as submit our application to the LGC. All of our installment financing has to be approved by the LGC. In order to meet their criteria and meet their timeline, if we get this out tomorrow and we give lenders about 3.5 weeks to respond, we can hopefully award the lender that we so choose, or you also choose, and then submit our application to the LGC on August 8th to be on the September 12th meeting for the LGC approval of installment financing.
So just so, I know I've mailed this out to y'all, but just so everyone hears, I'm trying to find where we're at. If it's approved tonight, we will send RFPs to lenders, starting tomorrow. The pre-bid for contractors will be here July 18th at 2 p.m. in the community room. And then August 1st at 3 p.m., we will open up the bids for the fire station. We will then propose dues from lenders on August 2nd. We're going to go really high. We can always go down, we can't go up. So when you see this and you see, I don't know what number we're gonna come up with, but this make it easy. Let's say we see 10 million, we can drop it down, but we can't go over. So we might actually have a 12 or $13 million number. Don't freak out when y'all see that. We can always go down.
Well, that makes me feel better, because I was gonna ask, how are you gonna do this when you don't have a number?
We're
Yeah,
getting
so-
numbers from the architect.
Yeah, we're using the architect numbers and shooting high so that as construction bids come in, we can go
Cover.
lower, but we
Yeah.
can't.
Have y'all decided on the number yet that you're gonna put on this?
We have not, but we will have, I think you're talking with the architect and Luke tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, right now, you can't, you wanna wait the last possible minute to get a number on anything because it can change in the blink of an eye.
No, I agree. That's why I'm asking, because I wanna make sure it's high enough. I don't
Yes.
wanna get bids and us go like, wah, wah, wah,
And
we
I-
messed up,
But
you
you
know?
also don't wanna go so high that your tax base can't fund it.
I
So
understand, but
there's a delicate balance there.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we ask for enough so that
We-
it's not another roadblock.
Yes.
And I will also add that if we stay on track with the timeline that I provided to Todd, lender proposals are usually guaranteed for 60 days. So if we stay on this track and we pick one and the LGC approves it, we will be within that 60-day window for whatever they submit back to us as a bid.
One last question, and I promise I'll stop. How many, like, lenders are we sending this to? Just a couple, a lot? How does that work?
We are sending at least 5 that I know of right off the top of my head.
But we're also making it public knowledge so others can
Okay.
submit. But we're,
The lenders they have to be approved by the state too.
yeah, they have to
So
be
you
on
can't
the,
just send it to anybody.
yeah, they have to be on an approved list, from the state.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll do it with the ones that we have business with and that we know of, and then we'll reach out to other cities who have borrowed money in the last couple, years and send it to them as well. There's a couple banks that we're gonna send it to that I don't know if we've ever dealt with, but it's always opportunity for new partnerships.
I'm just trying to make sure we don't miss nothing and it postpones it any longer.
Yes.
So, that's why I'm questioning everything I can think of.
Yeah, and so, if everything goes, according to plan, August 8th, we will be on the, agenda for the September 12th meeting. Council will award construction and financial institution pending approval of the LGC on August 8th as well. Excuse me. And then September 12th, we will have a phone meeting with the LGC. They've looked over our books and said that we don't need to be there in person, we just gotta be there on the phone. And then that night, that evening on September 12th, council will approve, everything pending LGC's approval. This is a realistic timeframe. I will tell you that if anything comes up, because of the way the LGC schedule is, we may need a special meeting. I know everybody wants to be there to vote on it, but if 4 of you or 3 of you can be there, it may happen. So just to keep it moving along. And if everything goes according to this, we hope to have a groundbreaking sometime between September 12th and October 31st. So that will be really depending on what contractor we use or choose. Now, I said all that, the resolution will need to be approved.
And we've not heard any more about, okay.
We will not hear that until a lot of other things get worked out. That has nothing to do with us. So the state budget has not been approved, and it can be approved tomorrow, it can be not approved ever. So I don't know where it's at on that, and nobody's telling anybody. So
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the authorizing the filing of application for approval finance agreement for the fire department.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous.
If there's nothing else, I move we adjourn.
Can I ask one question just because it's at the end and I meant to ask it earlier? The code enforcement report that's at the end of our package, does he, and this is more for my knowledge, does he come down here and ride around, or is this based on complaints?
it's both.
Okay,
So
He usually comes out about once a week, just right.
yeah,
Okay.
but there's only so much that we can handle. So if he has enough complaints to keep him busy,
right,
he don't go out and try to,
fine.
yeah, because there's only so much you can do in a time frame. So complaint drivens are at the top of the list,
Okay,
and then under that is riding around looking at it.
thank you. Sorry, Bob.
Also, Wanda, I'm putting you on the spot, and I do apologize. We having someone someone who's announced their retirement. And I am so sorry to do this. I meant to talk to you earlier today, but it's been one.
Mr. Jackie Belcher is announcing his retirement. It will be August, I think his last day will be August the 8th, but he's gonna use his vacation and retirement to extend, and it will actually be October the 1st. So we'll send out an invitation or something if you wanna have a celebration.
Yes.
Okay?
All right, thank you, Wanda.
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. We're adjourned.